Captain Peter Cutsey in a 737 MAX 8, the holding point to runway 21 on taxiway Delta in Coffs Harbour, New South Wales in Eastern Australia. Before we get airborne, we are going to speak about some of the new additions to Boeing manuals since the resumption of the 737 MAX, the beautiful 737 MAX. There are many things that we'll be talking about in a series of short videos, mainly in the area of flight controls. To give you a small example on screen, here we're looking at the AOM, FCTM, and QRH. And in the AOM or FCOM, we're going to speak about the elevator field shift system and the Mach trim system, the MCAS, maneuvering characteristics augmentation system, which is something new to our world of aviation within the last 2 years, the stall identification description, the very important alt disagree message, AOA disagree, display source, displays control panel, IAS disagree, instrument switch, a detailed look at autopilot disengagement, that is, what are the items that will actually disengage the autopilot, the autopilot elevator monitor, the flight control computers monitor, MCAS main electric stab. It's actually the primary electric stab and the backup. The MCAS, with the introduction of the MCAS system on the MAX, comparing it to the NG, the stab trim cutout switches have been relabeled from the main and autopilot labeling to primary and backup for the stab trim cutout switches. So primary and backup is what we'll be discussing today because we're discussing the 737 MAX. I must mention that in the critical areas of airspeed unreliable with memory items, runaway stabilizer, both the NG and the MAX follow the same pattern. And when you're flying in your company, perhaps you'll be transitioning from one to the other on different days. You want to make sure that you remember the memory items are the same. And what actually is happening, we're going to discuss now. But when you're in an airplane, you follow your training, which involves the knowledge of your systems and also the knowledge of the recall items in accordance with the QRH and any company SOPs that are given to you by your airline. So other items also, the MCAS main electric stab trim, which is primary electric stab, and the MCAS control column interrupts. There is logic on the control column that goes to the MCAS system and the speed trim system. The field differential pressure with regards to MCAS, and more on the speed trim system itself, and talking in detail of the horizontal stab. One thing you want to remember throughout all these briefings is there is only one motor to the horizontal stabilizer. It's an electric motor and it's only one motor, but it has different feeds, also different speeds. Remember, with flaps extended, the actual speed of the stabilizer trim movement is faster than that when you are in a clean configuration, which makes sense, of course. So that is what we'll be looking at there. And in the FCTM, manual stabilizer trim, runaway stabilizer, airspeed unreliable, takeoff, descent, approach, landing, unreliable go-around. Also on a go-around and attitude unreliable. So there's airspeed unreliable and there's attitude unreliable. And any erroneous AOA indications from the FCTM. In the QRH itself, of course, we're going to be discussing airspeed unreliable, alt disagree, and we'll also have a look at the very important performance chapters in the QRH regarding unreliable airspeed at 5,000 feet, clean, unreliable airspeed performance on final approach, and unreliable airspeed performance charts of the go-around. So all the examples that we'll be looking at will be referenced to a sea level airport and sea level temperatures, etc. And we'll be looking at those in detail. This is just a quick glimpse of them. The IS disagree from the QRH. Of course, we're going to be having a look at that, and the AOA disagree, and also runaway stabilizer. So in the AOM, several items as we've discussed. In the FCTM, several items as we've discussed here. And in the QRH, several items again. So we'll be doing a series of short videos explaining really the importance of focusing and knowing your flight control systems and being able to identify properly before you jump into memory items. So I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in part 2.